Hello, and welcome to another of these speeches. Today, I'm going to be talking about a lot of my consciousness thinking. We are reaching new levels of spirituality. Although religious wars are still being fought, they are becoming less and less prevalent. We are beginning to connect with one another on a higher level of consciousness. The collapse of the Berlin Wall and the birth of freedom in Europe are both examples of expanding consciousness as freedom in our natural bright light. As the consciousness of each person awakens, group consciousness becomes influenced as well. Every time you use your consciousness in a positive way, you are connecting with other people who are doing the same. Every time you use your consciousness in a negative way, you are also connecting to that. Every time you meditate, you're connecting with other people on the planet who are meditating. Every time you visualize good for yourself, you are doing it for others as well. Every time you visualize the healing of your body, you connect with others who are doing the same thing. So you see, our goal is to expand our thinking and to go beyond what was to what might be. Our consciousness can create miracles in the world. We all know this. The totality of possibilities connect everything, including our universe and even more. So, what are you connecting with? You see, prejudice is a form of fear. If you are prejudiced, you are connecting with other prejudiced people. If you open your consciousness and do the best you can to work on a level of unconditional love, then you connect to the curve on the graph that is climbing upwards. So, you want to be left behind, or do you want to go up with the curve? Often, there's a crisis in the world, right? This is how many people send positive energy to the troubled areas and do affirmations that everything works as quickly as possible and that there's a solution for the highest good of all concerned. Your consciousness, in a way, that will create harmony and plenty for all people. What sort of energy are you sending instead of condemning and complaining? You can connect with the power of the spiritual level and affirm the most positive results imaginable. So be one of those. How far are you willing to expand the horizon of your thinking? Are you willing to go beyond your neighbors? If your neighbors are limited, then just make new friends. But how far will you stretch? How willing are you to change I can't do with I can? Every time you hear that something is incurable, know in your mind that that isn't true. Know that there's a greater power out there. Incurable to me means that the medical profession simply hasn't yet figured out how to cure that particular illness. It doesn't mean that it's not possible. It means that we go within and find a cure. We can go beyond statistics. We are not numbers on a chart. Those are someone else's projections, somebody's limited mind. Thinking if we don't give ourselves possibilities, we don't give ourselves hope. Dr. Donald Picciuto at the National AIDS Conference in Washington, D.C., said something very important. He said that we have never had an epidemic ever that was 100% fatal. Somewhere on this planet, someone has healed from every single disease that we have created. If we just accept doom and gloom, then we're stuck. We need to take a positive approach so we can find some answers. We need to begin to use the power within to heal ourselves. Pardon. We have other powers. It's said that we only use 10% of our brains. Literally only 10%, and that's some. What is the purpose of the other 90%? I think having psychic ability like telepathy or clairvoyance or clairaudience are all normal and natural. It's just that we don't allow ourselves to experience these phenomena. We have all sorts of reasons why we don't, or why we don't believe we can. Little children are often very psychic. Unfortunately, parents immediately say, don't say that, or that's part of your imagination, or don't believe that foolish nonsense. The children inevitably turn off these abilities. I think the mind is capable of remarkable things. I think that we are capable of achieving incredible achievements, but we have to acknowledge it yet, because we won't use it for good. We will probably hurt others with this kind of knowledge. When we can get to the point where we really live in unconditional love, then we can begin using the other 90% of our brain. Firewalking. How many times have you heard firewalking? Whenever I ask this question at a seminar, several hands always go up. And yet, we all know that it's totally impossible to walk on hot coal, right? Nobody can do it without burning their feet. Yet, people have done it. And they are not extraordinary people. They are people just like you and me. And they probably learned it one evening by attending a firewalking workshop. I'm joking. I have a friend, Darby Long, who works with Dr. Carl Symington, the cancer specialist. They do a week-long workshop for people with cancer, and during the week, they have a firewalking demonstration. Darby has done it herself many times, and has even carried people across the hot coals. I always think how incredible it must be for people with cancer to see and experience such a process. It probably blows a lot of people's minds. Their even their concepts about limitations, right? I believe Tony Robbins, the young man who started firewalking in the country, is here to do something really extraordinary on this planet. This man studied NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, as it's like a process whereby he could observe someone's pattern of behavior and then repeat that person's responses and cues of behaviors to achieve similar results. Kind of like a mimic. NLP is based on the hypnotic techniques of Milton Erickson, which were systematically observed and recorded by John Grindler and Richard Bandler. Furthermore, when Tony heard about firewalking, he wanted to learn it and in turn teach it to others. He was told by a yogi that it would take him years of study and meditation. However, using NLP, Tony learned it within a few hours. He knew if he could do it, anyone can do it. He's been teaching people how to walk on coals, not because it's a wonderful parlor trick, but because it shows how to go beyond their limitations and fears. Hear me out. Everything is possible. And I want you to repeat after me. I live and dwell in the totality of possibilities. Where I am, there is all good. Think about these words for a minute. All good. Not some, not a little bit, but all good. When you believe that anything is possible, you open yourself up to answers in every area of your life. Where we are in the totality of possibilities, it is always up to us, individually and collectively. We either have walls around us, or we take them down and feel safe enough to be totally open to allow all good to come into our lives. So I want you to begin to observe yourself. Notice what's going on inside of you, how you feel, how you react, how you believe or what you believe, and allow yourself to observe without comment and judgment. And when you can, you will live your life from the totality of possibilities. Letting go of the past. I believe that the planet is becoming conscious as a whole. It's becoming self-conscious. Unlike some people would rather leave the planet than change. Change is usually what we want other people to do, isn't it? And when I speak about other person or other people, I want to include the government, the big businesses, the boss, the co-worker, the Internal Revenue Service, foragers, the school, a husband, a wife, mother, father, children, etc. Anyone other than ourselves. We don't want to change, but we want everyone else to change, so our lives would be different. And yet, of course, any changes that we are going to make, it all has to come from within ourselves. Change means that we free ourselves from feelings of isolation, separation, loneliness, anger, fear, and pain, so on and so forth. But we create lives filled with wonderful peacefulness, where we can relax and enjoy life as it comes to us, where we know that everything will be all right. I like to use the premise that life is wonderful. All is perfect in my world, and I always move into greater good. In that way, it doesn't matter to me what direction my life takes, because I know it's going to be wonderful. Therefore, I can enjoy all sorts of situations and circumstances. Now, I remember someone in one of my lectures was going through a lot of turmoil, and the word pain kept coming up in the conversation, and then she asked me if there was another word that I can use. And I thought about the time when I smashed my finger by slamming a window on it. I knew if I gave into the pain, I was going to go through a very difficult period, like a really, really bad time. So when it happened, I started to do like mental work right away, and I referred to my finger as having a lot of sensation. By viewing it, or like by viewing what happened in this particular way, I think it helped to heal the finger much more quickly and to handle what could have been a very unpleasant experience. Sometimes, if we can alter our thinking just a little bit, we can completely change the situation. Now, can you think of change as an inner house cleaning? If you do a little bit at a time, it will eventually all get done. You don't have to do it all, however, before you begin to see results. But if you change just a little bit, you'll begin to feel better soon. Thank you so much for listening, and like always, guys, live your life with love in your heart, and don't waste time holding grudges. Until next time.